Good afternoon, or good day, or good morning from wherever you might be watching or listening to us in the world. But if you're in South Africa, in Joburg in particular, hope you're having a really good day. It's a bit chilly outside. It's a bit windy. The weather is it's not really that great. But I hope wherever you are, you're having a ball of a time. And thank you so much for joining me today on our short World Cup chat. Where you'll be with me with various guests and analysts and journalists and people that generally just love the game of football and have their eyes glued to the World Cup. Where we'll be talking about Qatar 2022. It's finally gaining steam, eh? The games are coming in thick and fast, and we're already seeing some really, really big upsets, big surprises, and some teams are stepping up. Playing as we expected them to. There's a live game currently happening right now. One of Africa's representatives. Tunisia currently playing Denmark. The score is still 0-0 there. We just witnessed a really, really big upset, a big smash of a game between Saudi Arabia and Argentina. I'll be chatting about that a bit with my guest, Ismail Teladia. He's a sport administrator. I know he's currently on the line and he's going to be joining me. Assalamu alaikum, Uncle Ismail. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and to your listeners. Yes, all good, all excited about the World Cup, all excited about the cricket happening down under with New Zealand and Australia and England and India.
Yep.
And then, yeah, of course, looking forward to this rugby this coming weekend. So, yeah, it's all
there's
good.
there's a lot happening in the world of sport, but right now I just want us to focus on Qatar 2022. Your impressions on Sunday, the opening ceremony happened. Qatar opened its doors, introduced itself, or reintroduced itself to the rest of the world. Despite everything that was said on the news, the papers, the media, about their ability to host the World Cup and some of the you know misconceptions about them as a country and some of the generally, how World Cup is. Even with us in 2010, there was just a lot being said about South Africa and its state and its readiness to host the World Cup. But it happened. It's currently happening with Qatar also. What are your thoughts?
Well, once the first ball is kicked, all of the issues are almost put on the back burner, and the focus is on what's happening on the field of play, and I think this is exactly what is happening in Qatar, and will continue to happen in Qatar over the next couple of weeks. And if we see the results that we saw this morning or this afternoon, then definitely that will take up the talking point. So. People want to see that first ball being kicked, and so that has happened. That happened on Sunday. The first result that saw a host nation losing the first match of a World Cup. So Qatar going into the record books for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
But I mean, I'm sure. I mean, they were aware that they're not as strong as what was expected. And if I think back to 2010, we could have done better. I was fortunate to have been in the stadium when Chabalala scored that first goal, and the stadium rocked. The roof could have been taken off with the kind of roar that came from the crowd, but unfortunately we couldn't sustain it. In Qatar, well, it happened, and so Qatar was taken out by Ecuador. And so the pressure is on not only the host, but to us as Africans. We're looking at what our African teams are doing. And so
mm,
yesterday we had the Netherlands up against Senegal, and
yeah,
immediately Senegal. When we talk Senegal, we think Sadio Mane, and
definitely.
unfortunately Sadio Mane is out of the tournament, and so the team went in there. They played good, well. They played well. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, it was the Netherlands that got the two important goals, and so
Mm,
Senegal going down to the Netherlands by those two goals, 2-0, with Cody Gakpo scoring one of those goals. And then, of
yeah.
course, today, but yesterday, again, the English Premier League supporters, they know all of the players in the England team. We've always had issues with Harry Maguire. But when I saw Harry Maguire play yesterday, he played out of his skin. And so he put all of the critics to bed in terms of his performance yesterday. And then obviously with England winning by 6 goals to 2 over Iran,
Yeah,
that has basically set the standard.
Yeah, I just want us to touch on England a bit. You know, each and every
Yeah.
World Cup that they go to, there's always the proverbial monkey on their backs. You know, their players playing what we know as being the best league in the world. You know, they have some of the biggest stars in world football. I mean, right from the goalkeeper until the forward, especially now, you know, with all of the young players that are coming in, and they're singing it again. It's coming home. Does it seem like the case this time? Can it possibly be coming home for England? I mean, if you can look at their squad, they look really solid. I mean, the likes of Harry Kane in fine form, Bukayo Saka doing well with Arsenal. You know, the middle of the park, they're doing well. The defense, you mentioned Harry Maguire. They didn't have the best of starts with Manchester United, obviously, but he seems to be, you know, a different player when playing for Gareth Southgate. So is it, maybe are they the dark horses in this tournament, or is it just, you know, the same old with England, where they promise so much but deliver nothing?
I think we're going to have a serious conversation if they make it into the knockout stages of the World Cup. You know, if they move into
Hmm.
the next round, then we're going to have a serious talk. You know, I
Mm.
like this guy, uh, Jude Bellingham, who
Jude
plies his
Bellingham,
trade.
yes.
Yeah, who plies his trade in Germany.
Mm.
Excellent young player. I watched a few clips before the World Cup, and I was very impressed with him. And then we obviously know Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling,
Mm.
Jack Grealish. I mean, there's always been pressure on Grealish
Yeah.
when he's going to step up, but he did that yesterday. And as I said, with Harry Maguire having just stepped up for England, it does give one a little bit of confidence as far as the English are concerned. But let's see how the other teams perform in their first matches, and then we'll make a call after that. I mean, I'd love to see this evening France up against Australia, and so the French team without Karim Benzema
Yeah.
is going to be, a good side. But they have Kylian Mbappe, they have Antoine Griezmann, so they have
Mm.
strikers, that can replace Karim Benzema. And so looking at the defending champions, what do they bring to the table? There was big hopes around Argentina and Lionel Messi's team, and today they got thumped by Saudi Arabia. I mean, who just
Yes,
played.
that's one I want us to touch on. That's, I think, as you know, we're speaking of A. You know, this might be the biggest upset of the tournament. I think Argentina coming into the World Cup, everyone was going, you know, this is a very solid Argentine team. Lionel Messi, possibly his last World Cup, so he would want to make it count. But the way they started losing against Saudi Arabia, all respect to them. I mean, in the Asian, you know, part of the world, they seem to be doing okay. They're one of the top teams in the qualifying stages, but against an Argentine team, you know, that has the likes of Messi, Di
Angel
Maria
Di
in
Maria,
it,
yeah, yeah.
so you would have expected it was going to be a walk of the park. Did maybe the occasion get the best out of that Argentine team, where they all feel they need to, you know, put out this last wonderful goodbye tournament for Lionel Messi, that, you know, they just lost it?
No, I think one must take your hat off to the Saudi Arabian
Mm.
preparation. You
Mm.
could definitely see that these players were well prepared. They are physically fit. They are physically strong. They came with a strategy of playing with a high up defense, meaning that they were going to push the Argentinian players into the middle of the park, and so that worked for them. Remember, there were three balls that were in the back of the net
Mm.
for Argentina, and VAR played its role in terms of ensuring that the offsides were given. In one or two instances, the linesperson was in place to be able to make the call. So you have to take something and give credit to the coach in terms of his preparation of his team. And so I think that probably shook the Argentinians more than the occasion. I
Mm.
think the Argentinians came there that, they've beaten Saudi Arabia four times out of five. And so it was almost one of those sort of practice game type of approaches where we get in and we know what the result is going to be. It was just the talk is probably about by how many goals.
Mm,
But when you came with a team that had a strategy in order to counter the promise of the Lionel Messi's and Angel Di Maria's, it definitely put Argentina on the back foot. And then
mm,
Lionel Messi putting away the penalty in the 10th minute already would have given them further confidence. But with a 1-0 lead at halftime, the Saudi Arabians obviously had a very good team talk, and when they came back, with that strategy very much in place, and they shocked Argentina. And
mm.
so I want to reflect on where South Africa is, because if Saudi Arabia
Yeah,
can do this, Senegal can
definitely.
do this, um, and we have thousands of players more than the Saudis. Why
Mm,
are we not competing? Why are we not at the World Cup? And so
mm.
we need to look at, one, obviously the coaching, but also the mindset of our players. You can't compete if you're not passionate about what it is that you're busy with. If it's about the money, then step back and give somebody else the opportunity. But if you're not
Well,
looking to,
someone might argue that the Saudis have way more money than we do, but they still seem to
yes,
be motivated. I mean, we were watching the game, and you could
yeah,
see the players were ready to die on the field. They're putting their bodies
yes,
on the line, especially in the last dying moments. You could tell, that they were dying
yeah,
for that shirt. They were saying, we're on the brink of making history and we're not going to let it go. But I want us to touch on Argentina a
yes,
bit. I mean,
yes,
if you are Lionel Scaloni, the Argentine coach, and I'm sure as someone who's in sports administration has dealt with athletes,
yeah.
after such a horrendous, horrible start, what do you say to the team?
Well,
what words of encouragement do you give them? What do you
any
say?
any sports any sports psychologist says don't talk after the match. Um,
Oh,
it's done. Let's get back to the team hotel. Let's just go through all of the media queries, because obviously the media has gone crazy in terms of speaking to the coach and to Lionel Messi. So don't speak about the match with the team. Wait until
mm,
tomorrow. Tomorrow, when everybody has slept on it, we get together and we analyze what transpired, what was our strategy, and how come they had a better strategy than ours. And then you start
mm,
picking up and saying, okay, in order for us to move into the knockout phases, we need to beat Poland, and we need to beat what is the other team? Mexico. So
Mexico,
so
yeah.
there's an opportunity. Yeah. So there's an opportunity. We've beaten Mexico before, but Poland may be a different story. But let us look at securing the our next victory. That must be the talking point. And so if we forget about everything else, let's focus on winning the next match. And once you've won that next match, I'm sure you're going to bring back the belief into that team.
And I think maybe you can also go back and quote 2010, Spain. I think they also lost their first game, but then went till the last game and ultimately winning the tournament. So it is possible. It might be difficult. The morale in the team might be a bit low, but it's definitely doable. But another fixture that I want us to touch a bit on, it's the one that's coming up this evening. The French against Australia. There's also been a lot happening in the French squad, with regards to internally. I think, when they went to their first camp, Kylian Mbappe didn't seem that happy. They had injuries, obviously, to Paul Pogba, Karim Benzema, obviously out of the World Cup also. This is actually the first time where you have a Ballon d'Or winner that won't be playing at the FIFA World Cup. So, another bit of history there, but they seem to have the depth in the squad. They're the defending champions, but there's also that curse where no team has ever defended the World Cup. In actuality, they went on to do much worse, where they went out in the group stages of the tournament. So does France look like a contender? Do they look like they might be on the brink of making history, where they become that first team to defend the World Cup, because they do have the depth, as you mentioned, Kylian Mbappe, the likes of Griezmann are there. It's a solid team, but is it doable? Is it doable to defend the World Cup?
Yes, it is doable. Remember, the French are looking at doing the defense of the World Cup as only the second team in world football. Brazil did that in '62 when they defended their World Cup crown, and
Mhm.
so there is precedent, and so hopefully the French will feel that they can do likewise. They have a good team. They have an astute coach that has done some tremendous work with this particular team. You have the evergreen Giroud in that
Mhm.
lineup as well. So the French have what it takes to defend their title. And after today's defeat of Argentina, there must be a belief that there's nobody that's untouchable. We're looking forward, obviously, to see Brazil in action and to see Germany in action. But the fact that Argentina got beaten today opens the door for everybody to believe that this can be done. And hopefully, with the French in terms of their preparation, they will come into this particular match this evening to be able to say, let's start off this World Cup in a big positive way.
Mm, mm. Lastly, I want us to focus a bit on African countries. We obviously saw Senegal yesterday with Holland. They seem to have started pretty well. They were getting hold of the ball. They were not giving much chances away, but it just seemed at the closing stages of that game, I'm not sure if the concentration just went or the legs just started to tire. The Holland team was more, I don't know, more fit or was more mentally stronger to say, you know what, we're not gonna stop until the proverbial fat lady sings. But it just seemed they had the grasp of the match until that 70th minute where everything just seemed to went to go down in shambles. Are African countries at that level? Yes, we do have a lot of players that are playing, at the highest leagues in Europe and the rest of the world. But when it comes to the conditioning of players, whether psychologically, mentally, are our players at that level where we could possibly see an African country, never mind win the World Cup, but at least reach the semis and possibly the finals?
Well, that possibility is there. We saw Ghana getting to the stage of just coming short of reaching the
Mm,
semifinals. So is there. The one thing about this particular World Cup is that all five of the African countries are coached by Africans, and so it's the first
locals,
time
yeah.
in World Cup history that the African teams are being coached by indigenous Africans. So that in itself is a big plus factor. We see and we know that the Africans have talent. So whether it's Morocco, whether it's Tunisia, as we're speaking, I mean they're holding their own against Denmark currently. Morocco, Algeria. Yes, we are hoping that, and Cameroon, I mean, they've got a legacy in the
Mm,
World Cup. So there is, I firmly believe that one of these teams, if not two, will progress into the knockout stages, and hopefully one of them progressing into the semifinals, if not right to the podium. And let's hope that that happens. I think the platform has been set by Saudi Arabia that anything is possible at this particular World Cup.
mm. No, definitely. Before I let you go, I know it's still early days and we've only seen a few opening games, but who's your money on? From the tournament started, how you've been seeing the different teams progress in the preparations. They played a
Well,
few
this
continental trophies as well, and looking at the squads also. Who's your money
Well,
on?
I'm saying probably the four teams that I would be looking at going into the semifinals would be Brazil, it would be France. I'm probably looking at England, and let's hope the fourth team is going to be one of the African countries.
Ah, definitely, definitely. No, Uncle Small, thank you so much for giving us your time. Hopefully, one of the African countries will, do us proud, reach the semis. I think the furthest an African country ever got was the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
And it was Cameroon, if I'm not mistaken. That was way before my
yeah.
time. But yeah, hopefully, with the current squad that they have, and football has become smaller and smaller. You look at these players that are playing in these African teams, they're rubbing shoulders with the big players in the Champions League, in the English Premier League, and in League Earn week in, week out. So there shouldn't be a reason why they shouldn't. But otherwise, I'm going to let you go for now. Thank you so much for giving us your reactions. It was really a pleasure chatting to you.
Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam. Well, there you have it. A really, really, really interesting World Cup day. We've witnessed a really, really big upset. Upset or excitement. Considering which side of the fence you're leaning on, or if you're just a neutral that enjoys football. But Saudi Arabia did it. They beat Lionel Messi's Argentina. Going to this World Cup, this Argentina squad was touted to be probably the golden generation, with Messi obviously being at the back end of his career. But they looked solid. They looked like one of the dark horses going to this tournament. And considering that, they reached the final in 2014 in Brazil, where they were ultimately, beaten by Germany. But what do you say? Except give props to the Saudi team. And also, we're looking forward to watching Kylian Mbappe's France against Australia. Hopefully, the Socceroos also they might pull out a scare for the French, who have also been ravished by a lot of injuries in their squad. Karim Benzema not in the squad. Kylian Mbappe, he's been having a lot of issues with the team also. Paul Pogba out of the squad, and both of those players that are out are actually previous World Cup winners. They've won it with them in Russia in 2018. So we will see. My money is on France. Hopefully they become that second team to ever defend the World Cup. But it's really weird when it comes to the World Cup. You can't really call it, and I think Saudi Arabia really, really reminded us that this is a World Cup of history. Every World Cup is a World Cup of history, where there'll be those games that you want to be remembering for the rest of your life. And I think today's game, when Saudi played Argentina, is probably one of those games that are going to stick with me forever. The way the Saudi Arabian players were just so resolute in their defense, how they were just confident on the ball. They went into that game with a mentality that, it's 11 against 11. You're not playing Lionel Messi or Angel Di Maria or any of the big names that are in the Argentine squad. You actually, playing the team, and you qualifying for the World Cup means you deserve to be there. So I think that's really, really a plus for me. That's going to be one of the standout moments from this World Cup. But otherwise, from me, Polani behind the board and the rest of the team, is goodbye. See you again tomorrow on World Cup Talk. We'll be talking football, talking World Cup in the easiest, most simplest terms ever for everyone who loves and enjoys the beautiful game to enjoy. But for now, it's goodbye. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.